Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast. I'm Raffi, and as always, joined by Theodore and Davian. Boys, 2023. A couple days in, obviously, there's been some really rough news that we'll get into later on in the podcast to start off the new year. But personally, my new year is starting off pretty nicely. Boys, how is 2023 treating you both so far?
It's been great. I'm sorry to cut you off, Theodore, but I watched Tulane beat USC 46-45, and that must have been the most hypest moment I've had of the year so far. Simply because I predicted correctly, and everything that I said came to fruition. Najee Spears went off for 3 touchdowns. He declared for the NFL draft. We're going to talk about the NFL draft, in a few months, but he's going to be at least going in the top, in the top 5 rounds. It was just amazing to watch. And then, the other games were really fun to watch as well. Illinois lost, which was, kind of sad since I bet on them winning.
It was for Mike Leach.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, it was nice.
Davian getting something right. What a way to start out the year.
I know. It's great. I'm like 1-0 in predictions so far.
In 2023. Yeah, nothing to complain about here. Was at the Giants game Sunday. Saw us clinch the playoffs. Won my fantasy league. And then I said the year is great up until the very unfortunate news we had Monday night.
Yeah. You also ran into Brian Daboll, head coach of the New York Giants.
Yes. Yes. We're going to layer up the picture right here in our editing.
Yeah.
See the picture of me with Brian Daboll. Well, it was cool. He was not very enthusiastic to take the picture. I think he was trying to run away as I was taking it. But no, it was cool. Him, and I also met Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator. He was cool. He was all hyped up and into it. So it was a great experience, I'd say.
Nice.
To get into a little bit of hockey before we get into some of the beef being the NFL and just the college football playoff, I do want to mention World Juniors still happening. USA just got smoked 6-2 versus Canada in the semifinals. I do want to mention, though, that I did not expect us to go that far this year. And I also want to mention, if you're not allowed to be in the crease and score goals and you keep getting goaltender interference called on you, I think it's pretty hard to score goals in Canada. But I'm just going to put that out there. I think it was kind of rigged, but it's Canada.
Yeah.
They can have their spotlight.
Yeah. The Canadian team's crazy good. That young stud.
Connor Bedard.
I keep forgetting his
future Chicago Blackhawks.
He's nuts. He's absolutely nuts. So best of luck to our friends up north, but no respect to them.
You want to know what made me depressed? Really, really depressed earlier? I was just doing some casual, sports research. Connor Bedard, this guy who's literally dominating the sport of hockey, is younger than me.
That happened to me 2 years ago.
Me.
That happened to me 2 years ago, where it's I'm watching the draft and I'm like, these guys are all the same age as I am, and obviously I have my fair share of things that I could one up hockey players with. But getting to play in the NHL, getting drafted at 18, it's okay, I'm going to college. But that's pretty cool as well.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that at least for me, Bronny James is the same age as me, and I don't know. It's just as you start to realize, especially when the NFL draft comes up in the next few years. I know it happens every year, but point being that with these players that I'm going to be predicting going in the first round are the same age as me, and I could have potentially even gone to college with them, which knock on wood I will. Michigan, Tulane. Fingers crossed with them. Yeah.
Davian's not going to college.
Yeah, I'm not. No.
Davian's gonna be flipping burgers.
We're just so confident that
I'll still be a Patriots fan.
We're very confident in this podcast, so we're all.
Yeah, that'll be his way out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
higher.
Funness aside, let's briefly discuss what happened on Monday night. That was a game that I, for one, was very excited to watch, as long as thousands of people, and just took an absolute turn for the worse when Damar Hamlin making a pretty innocent-looking tackle on T. Higgins, who does not deserve anything that he's been getting. It's just ridiculous. Hopefully he can just tone it out. But he collapsed. It was determined that Hamlin had gone under cardiac arrest. He was rushed to U Cincinnati, their hospital, which luckily was 2 miles away. So that was very, very great, at least. He's still in critical condition. We don't know too much, so I don't want to discuss too much about him. But I do want to say that it was very nice to see the NFL, who I, for one, and I know we all like to really rip on the NFL, and deservedly so. They deserve a lot of heat. But the way they handled it and the whole situation, Zach Taylor and Buffalo's coach, who I'm blanking on, they all did a great job, and it made light of a very, very dark situation.
I think the only thing I'd like to add is that it was amazing to see the Bengals, just like the entire fan base and in some ways the country come together to really support Hamlin. And of course, as of right now, I think there's been close to $5 million raised for his fundraiser.
Over $6 million, yeah.
Over 6 million, sorry. When the at first he was just trying to raise two and a half thousand. The only thing I would just further add is just prayers from all of us that he gets well soon, and much class to the NFL and also ESPN.
Yeah,
I was watching that night. The way they handled that broadcast, I think, was the most perfect it could have been. Especially given, I mean, I've commentated games before. I mean, Theodore, I know you have as well. It's tough when there's an injury because you don't really know what to say. You don't want to you don't want to sound rude and move on to a different topic, but you also don't want to sit there in silence. And I feel like ESPN was able to find that fair balance perfectly. So kudos to them, and of course, still prayers to Hamlin.
Yeah, absolutely agree with everything you said there.
Yeah. So obviously, as David mentioned, we're praying on his health. Things that we've heard seem like things are trending upwards, but obviously we are not a reputable source. We don't have a true source that can tell us definitive what's going on. So we will not play any speculation or anything like that because that's just not what we're about. Moving on, I did want to discuss this to our next topic. Derek Carr has essentially been benched for the Raiders. I did want to touch on that. Where do you guys think he's going, and why is it the Indianapolis Colts?
Stidham more like Studham. All right, just gotta say that. Theodore, go ahead.
Yeah, Colts. I don't see it. I think Indy is headed for a full rebuild. Look, we were told this was an incredible football team. I believed it. Their defense, nothing special. Their offensive line is back to being atrocious, like Andrew Luck era level bad. They're going to totally rebuild. I think that Derek Carr will be a New York Jet. They're a team that really could be just a quarterback away. And I don't know if he's the best if he's like what they need, but he's going to be the best option out there for this.
How dare you talk about replacing the one and only Mike White, QB1? I don't know any other quarterbacks on that team. It's just the Mike White show. I wouldn't be shocked if the Jets look for an out with Zach Wilson, just with how poorly he's been for them, and just.
Would anyone even take him though?
I don't think so.
What do you?
I really just think if he gets cut, he might get signed. But when you lose the locker room as bad as he has, it goes down from there. I've heard from numerous people, like the Pat McAfee show being like a source. Like when guys lose when you lose the locker room as a quarterback, you can't really do anything. It's like he really messed up, and I think the only thing that would benefit him is a change of scenery if anyone is willing to give it to him. Next up,
agree with that. I think it would be the Bucs. Yeah, I think Zach Wilson to the Buccaneers. That's my prediction.
Here's the other question I'm going to pose to you guys. Any team looking to trade for Zach Wilson, right? Because there probably will be one or two that give him a shot. Wouldn't they all look for Trey Lance first? Because I think it's a pretty safe assumption that Lance will not be a 49er next year. Especially if Brock Purdy
let's play this game then.
I wouldn't
let's play this
that,
game.
Though.
If Lance, he just had another surgery on I believe his ankle, if I remember correctly. You guys can feel free to correct me on that if I'm wrong.
I think so, yeah.
I still think that you still want to know what you have in Trey Lance, because right now you can make a good argument that he has no value, and it's would you trade someone when they are at their lowest value? No, you wouldn't. You want them to get healthy. You want them to potentially play in the preseason next year, show some signs that, okay, like this guy has some assets that are valuable to a team, and then you can trade him. I don't think they personally trade him unless Brock Purdy somehow does a Cinderella run with the Niners. And then again, I just see the Niners as, heck, you could, if you really wanted to, and I don't think they will, you can get Derek Carr, maybe, just saying maybe, Tom Brady potentially. That would be a really good fit with how the Niners are as a whole. It's really just plug and play, and obviously Tom Brady, Davian, don't worry, he is not a system quarterback. I wasn't going to say that. But Tom Brady would fit really well, I feel like, with in Kyle Shanahan's offense, especially when he's not.
You guys want to get really weird on this. Daniel Jones. If there by any chance he's not a New York Giant next year, the things he would do in that 49ers offense are absolutely.
Yeah, I think the 49ers are just built for any QB. I just think it's just okay, so it's just like the mind games that we have, like the calculations that you make. Okay, so Brady goes to the 49ers, right? 49ers trade Trey Lance, right? If he becomes a Raider, Derek Carr goes to the Colts, and then so the Bucks don't have a QB then, right?
Yes, exactly. But then again, I saw there's a whole list of quarterbacks that are going to be potentially available this offseason. So there's going to be a huge QB carousel that I'm expecting.
Right, and then also what about Jimmy G?
Right, that's a potential guy that could.
And Jimmy G's contract, isn't it like 16 mil? Or is he a free agent after this year?
I believe he's a free agent after this
year. I think.
All right, so we just did a quick research. It does expire this year, so that makes it – I mean, I guess that makes it less complicated for the 49ers. You just have Brady and Brock Purdy backing up Brady, but then the Jets, would they go for Jimmy G?
Yeah, I don't know. I do want to mention though that there is some correlation with Tom Brady rejoining Josh McDaniels' team in Vegas. That's something that's also been bounced around quite a bit, so that's also something to keep tabs on.
True.
Okay, guys, yes, I have it. I have the solution to everyone's plans, everyone's problems. Tom Brady
retired.
Jets.
Oh,
case clear.
No.
Tom Brady.
Okay. No, that's not gonna happen.
I don't like Tom Brady, but I would never subject him to playing quarterback for the New York Jets.
I also there's been rumors of Brady coming back to New England.
No,
and I'm as a Patriots fan, even I'm not really sure I really want him. It's just gonna hinder Mac Jones, and I'm bought into Mac Jones really at this point. As much as I love Brady, it's still Brady poster hanging in my room. It went of him in his Patriots jersey. But point being, I don't know. I think it's gonna be a really fun free agency, especially when it comes to QB market. Switching topics real quick though, basketball. Donovan Mitchell has been going absolutely off. 71 points on Monday night. That was insane.
Yeah, look, there was. I'm gonna address the elephant in the room. He committed a lane violation on his game-tying basket. His missed free throw. Had the putback.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have reached 71. I want to give him credit. He should not have reached 71. Regardless, one of the best performances of all time. I think someone looked at points plus assists, which is points accounted for, and he had the second most of all time behind Wilt's 100. It's just absolutely absurd. What's been happening in the NBA this year? I think 6 different players have had 55-point games this year, which has happened once in the NBA season, and we're less than halfway through.
Yeah,
absolutely absurd what's going on. We talked about it last show. Continues into this week. Luka is putting up video game numbers. Giannis is doing the same. Embiid's going off. Jokic is shooting 80. Jokic just dropped a 30-point triple-double, shooting 80% from the field. It's they're playing on arcade mode right now. I don't know what's happening in the NBA.
Absolutely.
Also,
we will
also
definitely
the Thunder dropped.
Yeah.
Thunder dropped 150.
Oh yeah, congrats to Thunder dropping 150 against Boston. That was nuts.
Boston should dissolve as a franchise for allowing 152.
It dissolves the city.
Exactly.
Hey. Don't disrespect Boston like that.
All right, moving on. Before we come back to some football talk, obviously the college football playoff was this past weekend. I know you both want to talk about it. I obviously want to talk about it. For the first time in what feels like a while, we had 2 games that were both very competitive. Neither one was a blowout. Obviously, there were some It looked like TCU could have run away a little bit with the Michigan game at first. I thought Michigan was always going to come back. Then we had Georgia versus the Ohio State University, as I'm wearing right here, but I don't go there, so I'm not too upset by the game, obviously. But Ohio State got out to a 31-7 and a 28-14 lead. Obviously, we all know how that game went. First, let's talk about the earlier game, the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. Did they change the name? I think they did that just this year. I think last year they had a different name, but TCU wins 51-45. Max Duggan, I did not know that he has been doing such great things with his legs, and I think that was very clear. TCU's ground game was amazing. Obviously, Kendre Miller was a dog, to say the least, and he was absolutely amazing. Him and DeMercado were just an amazing tandem running backs for TCU. Obviously, Miller went down, I believe, near the end of the first half, so that obviously made them more one-dimensional. But with Duggan's legs as well, I thought TCU played a really good game. And I just keep hearing Michigan fans getting upset about the play. I think it was like midway through the second quarter, deep shot, Michigan guy catches it down at the 1. That was the right call. I know there was the misspotting, yada, yada, yada. But personally, if you're Michigan's defense, and I saw a stat, they were allowing less than 6 points per game in the second half for the past 8 weeks. Obviously, one of those games was versus Ohio State. To let up 51 versus TCU, and for your run defense, which has been highly regarded as one of the best run defenses in college football this year, to get run over like how they did versus TCU and to allow 51, touchdown or not, that's just unacceptable if you want to win if you're Michigan.
I agree with that, 100% agree with that.
McCarthy.
You can't throw 2 pick sixes. I don't care if it was tipped. I don't care this, that. Michigan got 2 tipped picks as well, going back the other way.
They deserved to lose that game. Incredible second half offensively, but no, they absolutely deserved to lose, and TCU played an excellent ball game. All-time classic, though. I think both games.
100%.
An incredible day of college football.
Yeah, Ohio being the first team to lose in 2023.
Yes, as they unfortunately had that field goal lined up right as the clock changed to at Eastern time to 2023, which was unfortunately really, really funny. But let's talk about that game real quick. Ohio State had a lead numerous times, some by 2 scores, and Georgia just kept fighting back. I thought Stetson Bennett had an awful third quarter, but he followed it up in the fourth quarter with an amazing, amazing job. Well done. The defense stepped up later. They only allowed 13 points on the Ohio State's offense. I do want to mention, though, that regardless, C.J. Stroud, in my personal opinion, from what I saw last night, and I did see Bryce Young earlier that day versus Kansas State, he played amazing. C.J. Stroud is my QB1. I just think that with the game that he put on, the display that he showed versus Georgia, I think that, without a doubt, he's the first quarterback that gets taken come the NFL draft.
Yeah, I think it's going to be – I think they're definitely going 1-2, if we're being real. I know Will Anderson's an absolute stud. Probably going to be, a defensive cornerstone on whatever team drafts him. But I really think it's a 1-2 situation. It may even be, a deal where a team gives a ton to trade up. It's going to be absolutely insane in the QB class. Let me throw one other thing out there. QB-wise. Why do we not think Max Duggan is going to succeed in the NFL? Like, what about his game doesn't translate? Because I'm really stumped on this. I don't get why, he's not viewed as
and then Will Levis is getting all this hype, and didn't they lose? Yeah. They lost 21-0 to Iowa. How do you I know one of them I think was a fumble return for a touchdown or a pick six, so it wasn't like Iowa's offense actually did stuff. But talent are not around you. I mean, you got to do something. Like, look at Louisville when Lamar Jackson was there, and obviously they're 2 different types of quarterbacks with how they play. But Lamar Jackson basically carried Louisville. We know. Look at what's happened to Louisville since he's left. Will Levis, I personally just don't see it in him. Obviously, I could be wrong. I said the same thing about Josh Allen. So.
Yeah, it's like Max Duggan, though. He's 21 years old. It's not like he's old. He's 6'2". He weighs, I believe, around 220 pounds. You see the throws he makes. He's got an arm. He can run with his legs. He's everything you should be looking for in a modern QB. I don't get why he hasn't had that, Joe Burrow, that Joe Burrow, Zach Wilson type rise.
Maybe he just needs to, I know I said this last podcast, but maybe he just needs to go out on his pro day, roll out to the left, throw a crossbody, and throw a deep ball, and that's all you really need. Honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a 5 semesters into my degree. I might as well just do a little film, throw that ball deep. So then once I get out of college, I can just go to the NFL and someone's gonna pay me a gazillion dollars to just be terrible. So I guess that works. Or once again am promoting myself, self promotion. If you are looking for a guy that you can hire and give like $40 million to and fire halfway through the season, I'm your guy. I will do it, and there will not be any. I will not put up a fight at the end when you're showing me the door. I mean, you hired Urban Meyer. You can hire me. You hired Matt Rule. You gave him all that money. You might as well just throw some bread my way. But any other thoughts on the college football playoff and before we continue on? And also, who do you guys have winning versus TCU with TCU playing
TCU,
Georgia?
TCU all the way.
I like it.
I'm fully on the Max Duggan hype train.
I like it. But I'm going Georgia.
Bulldogs.
I'm going Georgia as well.
Georgia.
I want to. Again, this is like with Ohio State, Georgia. It was like I'm fine with either team. TCU, Michigan, I like TCU more, but it was like if Michigan wins and puts up a great game, as long as I'm getting a good game, no complaints because Notre Dame is not in.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I think we will have a good game. I think TCU will stay in it the whole time, and this could go down to the last drive.
I hope it does. So let's move on now to where the college prospects go to after they're done. There's a great transition for you all.
That's an amazing transition.
I should have dropped the ball on New Year's Eve, not Nelson Aguilar. Let's talk about some of the scenarios for playoff teams. I do want to start with the NFC because that's the one we have clarity with. As of today, we don't know what's going on with Bills Bengals. We know it's not being played this week. My assumption is they're going to do something that the NHL has done in the past where if games are canceled due to COVID, it goes based off win percentage. So I'm not going to go through that whole process.
I think they're going to postpone a week. But
right.
Yeah. Either way, I think they'll figure it out.
So what we'll do is we'll talk about the ceiling in the NFC. The AFC will just talk about some of the top teams, and obviously Jaguars Titans, which will be the Saturday night game because the NFL just needs to make more money. Let's first talk about the NFC. So the Eagles can get the 1 seed. Jalen Hurts, as I've heard earlier today as we're recording on Wednesday, he should be good to go versus the Giants. Theodore, there's been a lot of talk. Should the Giants bench their players? They cannot move up or down from the 6th spot. They clinched last weekend. Obviously, you were there, which must have been great to see. The boat curse is over. Do you think the Giants should start their guys? And also, I want to hear your thoughts on Daniel Jones and if you think that he's the future, if he's proven enough to stay in New York.
Okay, come on. You guys know what I've been saying for the past year. Of course, Daniel Jones is the future, and this year has just gone further to cement it. But further than that, Davian, stop shaking your head. This man.
He's not. It's a fluke.
Right. He has nothing to work with. He has turned Isaiah Hodgins into one of the hottest receivers in the league right now.
Richie
James, when he's not dropping balls, actually is kind of talented.
He's not the future. It's a fluke of a season.
Jones is the future.
It's a fluke. It's another 2016.
You see the way he was running on, yes, look, the Colts are dysfunctional right now. But look, the past.
Okay. Don't tell me anything about this Colts game. The Colts are a dysfunctional franchise with a dysfunctional owner and a dysfunctional coach and a QB that's basically dead.
Okay. Yes. First of all, Kayvon doing Snow Angels next too.
That was kind of savage.
I will give him the benefit of the doubt on that. Yeah. But let's be honest here. It doesn't look good if you're giving a napping thing while he's getting carted off. He could have gotten away with the Snow Angel, no harm, no foul, but the napping was. But Theodore, continue on with your Daniel Jones praise. I'm just giving you a little bit of time to do that, and also if you think that the Giants should rest their starters or not.
Okay, Daniel Jones is the future. Past 3 weeks, the offense is hot right now against Washington, against Minnesota, and yes, against the dysfunctional Colts. 3 games we should have won. Lost to Minnesota off because of some horrible drops. But I don't want to risk any of this momentum being slowed down. Defensively, we got Xavier McKinney back. Adoree Jackson's coming back. Give him a game to get back integrated into the offense. The team doesn't seem tired at all. It seems like momentum is absolutely in our way. I don't want to risk slowing this down. I want to go out. I want to beat the Eagles, which, for the record, could give the Dallas Cowboys a bye.
Right.
And the reason that is good for us is because most likely we're playing the team who gets the bye in the second round. So ideally, I'm going to be totally honest. I don't want to play the Eagles on the road in the playoffs. So I'd rather beat them now and not have to do it in the playoffs, at least until the NFC Championship.
All right, Davian, let's take a look at the 7 spot right now. So obviously currently, as things stand, that's amazing wording. The Seattle Seahawks have that seed. The Packers and Lions are looking in. The Seahawks can keep their spot if they win and the Lions beat the Packers Sunday Night Football. The Lions get in if they win, but Seattle loses. The Packers control their destiny. Imagine saying that a few weeks ago when they're 4-8. The Packers control their destiny. A win versus the Lions, and they are in. Davian, how do you think that the NFC shapes out in relation to the Saints?
It's rough. I mean, Rodgers has been balling. As much as I don't want to just see Packers win and they go through, I think that's what's going to happen. What I see more likely happening, I see the Lions making it in. I feel like the Seahawks have lost that momentum that they had earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Mad respect to Geno Smith, though. He's a Pro Bowler, as he should be. Even though, Pro Bowl is just, a fan vote. But in any case, I see the Packers or I see the Lions. I think it's just going to be the winner of that game is the one who goes through. It's at Lambeau Field. I mean, it's hard to lose at Lambeau Field, so, I got Rodgers.
Theodore?
Sadly.
I'm going to go with Seattle to make the playoffs. I think they win. I think Detroit handles business. Detroit's going to be motivated no matter what. The Packers have been hot, but the Lions have been a great team this year. Jared Goff's on fire. And I think Seattle and Geno can take care of business in LA.
I heard people talking about this earlier today about
some
teams are going to still, they're going to be clearly out of the playoffs, but they're going to have players looking for next contracts to make a little bit more money. They have players who want to end the season off right. Obviously, they don't care about draft picks. No player cares about draft picks. That's only something that the general manager cares about. I personally would not be shocked if Baker Mayfield, if he's starting, beats the Seattle Seahawks to end the season, put an emphasis on his last couple weeks with the Rams, and ends the Seattle Seahawks playoff. Now, you might be saying, Raffi, you haven't liked the Seahawks ever, so that's clearly very biased. And I would say, yeah, it is. But I also wouldn't be shocked if Baker Mayfield last week just has this attitude of, you know what, I'm going to go in there, I want my next contract, and he's going to ball out. And I think the Packers getting in is better just for the sake of the games that we'd be watching. But
no,
the Lions would be a very, very fun team to watch in the playoffs.
They would. If from a fan perspective, Detroit's what I want to see pull through, without a doubt.
Moving on to the AFC, obviously there's still a lot that is up in the air. Obviously, I think we can assume that the game likely could be postponed, but as we're recording Wednesday, January 4th, 2023, we do not know anything yet. So if anything comes up, we will mention on our TikTok of what's going on with that game. So obviously there's a lot that can go on with who wins the AFC North and who gets the 1 seed. So that's yet to be determined. But I do want to talk about the Jaguars-Titans game, which we do know is a win and in scenario for both teams. Except the Jaguars are in if they win or if they tie. So normally I just disregard that, but then again, we had a whole situation last year with the Raiders and the Chargers. So I did want to mention that that's also the way the Jaguars can get in. Boys, Dobbs is in for the Titans. Yeah. Does he have a miracle in him?
No. I mean, look, if Derrick Henry plays, maybe, but no, he's not good. He's just not good.
Yeah. It is going to be Jacksonville, and I'm pretty confident on this. I think the Jaguars win. I think they possibly make some noise in the playoffs.
I need to find the clip of me talking about how the NFC or the AFC South is just a poop show, and screw it, the Jaguars are going to win the AFC South. I just got to dig that receipt up so we can get it up in a little bit because I'm going to take that one to the bank. I have not been on the top with a lot of my NFL takes. So I'm going to cling to that one like Michael Jordan clinging on to his championship back in the 90s. I forgot which one, but we all know the meme that I'm talking about.
Yes.
Anything else before we close? Any other big headlines? JJ Watt retiring. That was announced the week before, which we couldn't get to last week. I did want to mention that. Obviously, dude is probably the greatest defensive player of our generation that we've grown up watching. Obviously, Aaron Donald close second, but JJ Watt was amazing. Obviously, I think we all remember just the picture of him with his whole face just blood everywhere, and he's just like, I'm ready to go out for the next snap. So, JJ Watt, congratulations on a great career, Wisconsin boy. So,
yeah, fun show, guys.
It's been very fun. It's always fun. Great way to start off the year with this podcast. We're on the road to 1,000 followers on TikTok.
we have hit 500. We'd like to thank you all, if you're watching, for following us. That's obviously great. We got I think it was like 2-3 hours before 2023, we hit that goal. So that was obviously awesome. And yeah, that's going to do it for this edition of the Benchwarmer Sports Podcast. As we just mentioned, Benchwarmer_sports, where you can find us on TikTok. Be sure to follow, subscribe to our channel. We hope you had a great New Year's, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. For Theodore, for Davian, for me and myself, Raffi, we hope you have a great rest of your day, and go Jaguars.
Peace.